Hello, Todd Clemens, Okeechobee Livestock Market, and here is your weekly market report. Producers Cattle Auction will be having a big sale at the Florida Cattlemen's Association convention in Marco Island this coming week. The deadline for turning cattle in for that sale is Friday, 5 p.m. We already have several lots consigned for the sale. We're looking for probably 30 or 40 lots of cattle on that sale. There'll be some of the best calves in South Florida. Producers Cattle Auction is a homegrown company based here in Florida at Okeechobee Livestock Market. We are similar to but smaller than Superior. We do sell cattle on the internet. We have reps that can come visit you and talk to you about selling your calves. We sure would like to do some business. We have all the major buyers participating on our sales. Calf prices are high. We're anticipating a really good sale. That's next Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The sale will be live at Marco Island, Florida Cattlemen's Convention. But you can tune in to www.producerscattleauctions.com and go to there. You can be a guest, or you can log in as a buyer if you are pre-registered and qualified to buy cattle. Now, on to another issue. We were at the LMA Convention, Livestock Marketing Association Convention in Punta Gorda last week. It was a great convention. People from all over the country representing markets nationwide were there. We met Corbett Wall from DV Auctions, the Feeder Flash gang member, leader, and Justin Tupper, president of the United States Cattlemen's Association. We met some the Robertsons from Bassett, North Dakota, I believe. But there were a lot of people that we got to meet and put faces with names, and it was great. We also got to visit with assistants from Marco Rubio's office and also Rick Scott's office, and that was awesome. The lady from Rick Scott's office is originally from Wisconsin, but she grew up, I think, on a dairy farm and had a farming background. So it was good to see that these people with our congressmen do have ag backgrounds, and they're on our side, and we feel like that maybe we got our foot in the door with them on some of our major issues. One of the things that came up during that conversation, we got to talking about the Florida Panther and about the path of the panther that National Geographic put out, that Carlton Ward Jr. was behind, and Elton Langford was on that deal from Babcock Ranches of Florida, and it was just a great a great thing to see that Carlton is trying to save that panther. And you know, the more you think about that, years ago, cattlemen had an aversion to panthers and predators of cattle, and they may still have. There may be some controversy to that, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and we have a lot of friends in that part of the world that have cattle and have to coexist with the panthers, and I know it's kind of a struggle at times. I know their calf crops aren't as big as other people's, and you know, they're predators, those panthers. But anyway, what I see happening is people are getting behind the movement to save the Florida Wildlife Corridor, which, if you start from the south down in the Everglades and you come up to Lake Okeechobee, and then you go up the Kissimmee River all the way up to Okefenokee Swamps in Georgia. I mean, it's huge. But think about all the acres of land that are in the central part of Florida, and bears and panthers and all kinds of animals and wildlife and birds and everything that live here, which I sound like an environmental tree hugger. But you know what? We about have to be if we want to save what we do and what we love. If we want to save our cows and our land, we're going to have to fall in with these people that are trying to save the wildlife by saving the land that they roam on and keep it all free and open. The land conservation programs, Florida Rural Land Protection Program has been funded with money. And if you are in an environmentally sensitive area, or if you're in the wildlife corridor areas, look into these programs and please help the path of the panther and help save the cattle industry in the state of Florida. Appraisers come out on these programs and appraise land values, and it's the payment for these programs, the conservation easements, are based on land values by appraisers. And if they're really serious about this, and we're talking about government being involved in private sectors, and people have not been supportive of some of the efforts of government bills that may support price discovery by keeping competition out there with the packers, not having to buy cattle on a negotiated price all the time, and that defeats the competition, and then prices aren't as high that way. So I was thinking about the land conservation. What if the government were to pass a bill or help the people that are selling the development rights to their land in these conservation easements? What if they gave them an additional 35% of the value of the land, or maybe the proceeds they get for selling the development rights for their land, make it tax-free so they don't have to pay tax on that gain, on the capital gains of that. Incentivize people to join in to save the path of the panther. Incentivize them. Not just appraise the land and whatever it is, this is what we're going to give you, and then the landowner is like, well, it's worth a lot today, but it's going to be worth a lot more later on, and I can sell it to a housing development or this or that or whatever, and make a whole lot more money. But maybe we need to step up there and incentivize these people to get on out there and put that land in a conservation easement, which there's ways that could be done. So think about that. But it may be a little controversial with the panthers and the cows all in the same area, but if you think about it, it's all going to help save Florida and our natural resources, save our land, our free spaces, help our water quality. The people on the coast are the ones that complain the most about runoff, phosphorus runoff, fish kill, algae bloom, all the things that agriculture gets blamed for. So let's get those people in behind saving the panther, saving our space, keep it wide open, and keep the water quality up there. And it's a win-win for everybody. Everybody in the whole state will win with this deal. Cattle are diminishing, even though there's still a pretty good sized cow herd here in Florida. It's getting smaller and smaller, and at some point we've got to save what we have. So that's what I got to say about that. Moving on to the market conditions, this thing is getting even really scary, crazy. We've got 5-weight calves up there in the 260s, 6-weight calves up in the 240s, 250s. That's a lot. But guess what? Box beef prices are still at an all-time high, $3.30 some odd cent a pound for retail box beef prices, which is an all-time high. Cattle coming out of the feedlots, there's fewer and fewer of them, and the major packing, JBS, Cargill, National, Tyson's, those guys are having to compete for these cattle. There's just not enough of them to go around. And so you've got a competitive situation. They're bidding on these cattle. Last week they bought 115,000 head at a negotiated price, which is more than they ever have before, which proves that when you have competition, you're going to get higher prices. There's a class of cattle here at Okeechobee this week and last week too, from 500 to 600 pounds, number one steers. There's an extra order or two on the floor for those calves, and they're probably, some of those calves were $30 higher this week than they were last week, which is crazy. But that's what happens when you have competition. You get these guys fighting over these cattle, and it just all comes right back to the producer, which is great. So competition works. Cows sold good. They were quoted off a little bit, maybe a couple dollars, but still those good cows are bringing over $1, and bulls are up into the $1.20 range, $1.25 maybe even higher on some of those. We're seeing some really good calves come in here. We're excited to see these high prices. We're thinking that the sale next week at Marco is going to be a stem winder. It's going to be great, and producers are happy when they're picking their checks up, and it's time that we put some money into the producers' hands so they can do some of the improvements that they've been waiting to do, land improvements. Of course, replacement heifers are going to be high. Bulls this year, we have our bull sales in October. I'm just telling you right now, those bulls are going to be, I'm going to probably $1,000 higher average. I think last year they were averaging somewhere around $35,000 to $4,000. I'll bet you they'll be up in the $5,000 range this year. So, these high calf prices, don't spend it all. Save some of it back, because you're going to need it to buy your replacement heifers and your breeding bulls come the fall of the year. So all that's good. The market's in good shape. We're getting plenty of rain. It stormed here yesterday. We got another 2 inches. I think we've had about 5 inches in the last 3 days. Pastures are getting a little bit soggy in areas. Other places are in pretty good shape. Ponds still aren't full, but skeeters are hatching out. But the grass is in good condition, and calves are putting on a lot of weight. So it's that time of year. It's summer in South Florida. Now on to the high prices. Man, I'm so tickled to death for the calf price, the high calf price this week. This guy, I know he's been coming to our livestock market since he was a kid. We're about the same age, and I remember seeing him when I was working up here just as a youngster. But the high calf price this week was from James Fountain. Good job, James. It's good to see you here Tuesday. You topped the calf market with a 220-pound calf that brought $3.35, and that calf was bought by DNS. And on the slaughter cow side, a familiar name on the slaughter cow high price of the week, Jay Walpole, once again. He's got more lunch tickets stacked up, him and Stephanie, than I don't know, but I do see him in here using them. And good job, Jay and Stephanie. It's always good to see you and those good cows that you have. And you topped the cow market with a 1,015-pound cow. She brought 124. That cow was bought by Cargill. That's your market report. Thank you.